Right now, on to the point. A Sacramento sergeant disciplined after arresting a man for being drunk in his own garage. The new video showing the arrest. Their home was taken by eminent domain. Now, more than a decade later, a family is getting it back after a major mistake was discovered. And we introduce you to the local group empowering young Native women to become future leaders.
Thank you so much for joining us. This is To The Point, and I'm Alex Bell. We're learning tonight about a former Sacramento County Sheriff Sergeant who was demoted after arresting a man in his own garage, applying unnecessary force and using profanity against him. And that's all according to documents released by the sheriff's office after the Sacramento Bee launched an investigation into why those documents had not been made public. And Becca Habegger joins us tonight. And Becca, this all played out nearly 4 years ago?
Yeah, Alex, an internal investigation by the Sacramento County Sheriff's Office shows it started with a domestic disturbance call one evening in February of 2020. A woman and her daughter had left the home they shared with the woman's fiance because he was drunk and belligerent, according to the report. Deputies arrived for what's called a civil standby as the woman returned to gather some of her belongings and leave once again. Now, during the course of this and after the woman left, the man opened his garage door and started yelling at the deputies who were standing in his driveway. By then, a supervising sergeant named Brandon Polite had arrived on scene. Polite went to arrest the man, later telling investigators he did so because the man was drunk in public, saying, quote, "He's standing in his garage door opening. I know case law, that's a public place. He came out to us, he confronted us." But this video shows the man stayed in his garage the whole time. Unbeknownst to the sheriff's officials at the time, the man had security cameras that showed the whole thing. Polite is heard cursing at the man and calling him names, what one official calls in a report outright wrong, disparaging, unprofessional, and humiliating. At one point, the man asks what crime he has committed. He had this to say in a social media post shortly after that night.
I immediately asked, why am I being cuffed? I am drunk in public, is what the first officer said. I am in my house. I'm in my house. So this is the kind of stuff that the people in the position of having a badge, and the sergeant on this was the real joke, ultimately.
That sergeant, Brandon Polite, is also seen applying pressure to the man's ear after he was handcuffed, which internal reports determined was unnecessary. The chief deputy recommended, in fact, that Polite be fired for all of this. The sheriff's office ultimately disciplined Polite with a demotion from sergeant to deputy, a reassignment to corrections for at least 2 years, and 160 hours of unpaid suspension.
Yeah, this happened back in 2020. Do we know where he is now?
I did ask the sheriff's office that today. They directed us to submit a Public Records Act request to get that information. Now, Alex, also keep in mind, the Sacramento County Sheriff's Office did not have body-worn cameras back at that time in 2020.
And pretty much if he hadn't had the security camera in his garage, this whole thing may have never even come to light, right?
That is the case. That seems to be so.
All right, Becca, thank you so much. We appreciate it. All right, new tonight, California Faculty Association members say that they are planning to strike unless management presents a proposal in the coming days. The association and the California State University management have been in mediation since August, and the CSU plans to host a meeting tomorrow to update the negotiations with the Faculty Association. Some of the things on the bargaining table include a 12% pay raise, more counselors for students, and expansions to parental leave. And CFA members say that they plan to strike as early as next week. And the campuses will include Cal Poly Pomona, San Francisco State, CSU Los Angeles, and Sacramento State. A Manteca family is finally getting their home back 29 years after they were wrongfully forced out. San Joaquin County claimed eminent domain over the home on Sherman Avenue back in 1993 to expand the courthouse next door. By 1994, they paid the 80-year-old woman living there and forced her out. The home has been mostly vacant and boarded up after storing court documents for a few years. But recently, while looking through county-owned properties to place housing on, county officials noticed that the proper documents to transfer the title were never filed. On Tuesday, supervisors voted unanimously to give the home back to the woman's children for free.
We decided to just give it back to the family. And no strings attached. The money that was given in the past, that's water under the bridge. We feel bad for the hardship, and I think it's the least we can do.
Now, we did try reaching out to the family who now owns the property, but we haven't heard back. While they now have control of the home, it might not never be the same because the area has been rezoned as a commercial business district. A Roseville doctor was charged today after an FBI investigation involving the trading of child abuse images. A federal grand jury handed down a two-count indictment against Dr. Khurshid Haider. He's charged with distribution and possession of child pornography. If convicted, Haider faces a sentence of 5 to 20 years in prison. Governor Gavin Newsom announced a new bill to crack down on the so-called zombie drug known as tranq. And we first told you about the drug over the summer when Sacramento and Butte County officials warned that it was increasing in popularity. And the drug is named xylazine. It's actually a horse tranquilizer. It was nicknamed tranq because of the zombie-like effects that it gives its users, and it can be found in pill and powder form and is sometimes even cut with fentanyl. And the governor says the drug possesses a challenge in the state's fight against the overdose epidemic. One of the big concerns is that there's no cure if someone does overdose.
It's a very potent and very deadly drug to get their hands on, and a very small amount can do very great harm to many people. The information we received is that this drug is in 48 of our states.
Okay, so you're probably wondering who that was. That was an undercover detective explaining what law enforcement is currently seeing. Under the new legislation, xylazine would be considered a controlled substance, making illicit trafficking of the drug subject to increased criminal penalties. And veterinarians would still have access to the drug for approval in animals. But the legislation is part of the governor's master plan for tackling the fentanyl crisis. Coming up, on to the point.
Not going to be bullied out of this job, out of the House, out of my seat. Now, if they want me out, vote me out.
For the first time in more than 2 decades, Congress could be set to oust one of their own when George Santos could face expulsion.
Cold overnight lows in the mid-30s and low 40s out there. How long this cold and chilly weather will be sticking around.
And later in the show, we introduce you to an organization empowering Native youth.
We want to make sure we're building up our youth and that we're not leaving nobody behind, because again, the important thing is that we talk about 7 generations, or we're that next generation.
A heads up for drivers ahead of the weekend. Thousands of runners are expected to participate in the 40th California International Marathon on Sunday. The 26.2-mile race starts at Folsom Dam and then ends at the California State Capitol. And preparations are underway. So several streets in downtown Midtown and East Sacramento will start closing starting tomorrow. You can see the full list right here on your screen. Streets affected by the marathon are expected to reopen on Sunday after those runners clear out. And I know, Carly, you've actually been looking into a lot of details about the race. There are some things that you really should know if you're going to this.
The number one thing you should know is it's not likely to rain. So that's the great news for runners, those watching, but there are some things you do need to know. And that includes start time temperatures, as well as a lot of things like dropping off your gear. Starts at 4 a.m. but it ends at 5. So make sure you're getting that in, because they will not accept it and all your gear as you start the race at 7. Now around 7 a.m. you're looking still at the sun barely rising at 7:07 a.m. 49 degrees, and by 10 a.m. in the middle of the race here, the mid 50s start to approach into the upper 50s. By noon, a lot of people beginning to finish there, and then 1:30 p.m. that's when the finishing area closes. That beer garden opens at 8:30 a.m. Not sure if you're going to be down to have something like that early that morning. Low 60s by 2 p.m. All right, checking out Castle Peak here. We're starting to see a little more flurries, some wet weather, areas of slippery roads. Please be careful if you are heading over eastbound 80 as well as westbound. We are starting to see more of that snow beginning to pick up there. As you can kind of see that front just kind of pushing through there. You can see some showers in the foothills. This is very light, so we don't expect major delays, but still pretty slippery roads. Cold overnight temperatures and rain chances will be limited for the valley. Again, foothill spots, especially up higher in the Sierra and the Sierra with the snow showers are expected, but everything really lower than even 2,000 feet. Not really expecting too much in terms of rain and snow. Now, as we do pass into Saturday, we do have a few scattered and stray showers we may see in the valley, but otherwise maybe your neighbor doesn't get it, but you do. So it's not really expected to be a big deal. 1/100th of an inch may be expected to be recorded. Otherwise, with our global model here, we could see anywhere from 1 to 4 inches for the Sierra spots, and maybe the peaks could get as much as 4 to 6 inches. The European model showing a lot less than that, with elevations around 4,500 to 5,000 feet. As we take a look into our foothills, our temperatures in the mid to low 50s, but overnight Sonora at 34, with 32 in Groveland, 27 in Arnold overnight. If you're headed toward the Bay Area, you are looking at mid to low 60s out there, and then the 10-day forecast, well, that will bring us our temperatures right into the low 60s, and that means we are going to see overnight lows still in the upper 30s and low 40s overnight.
Next, a suspicious warehouse outside of Fresno leads to questions about what's being made there, what we know about its ties to China. Plus, your Google account could be at risk of deletion, what you can do right now to make sure that it's safe. We turn tonight to the Middle East, where the ceasefire between Hamas and Israel has extended another day, and more hostages were released by Hamas today. The terrorist group is also taking responsibility for an attack in Jerusalem that left 3 Israelis dead. Rena Roy has the latest tonight.
More hostages freed by Hamas Thursday, with the shaky ceasefire between Israel and Hamas extended for a 7th day. Among those released, 40-year-old Amit Susana, who was taken while hiding in her home in Israel back on October 7th, and 21-year-old Mia Shem, kidnapped from the Nova Music Festival.
This was the 7th day of the humanitarian pause, the 7th day of hostages coming home. We look to see if this can continue, but it's going to be up to Hamas whether they will continue to do this.
49-year-old American dual citizen and mother of 3, Liat Bainin, also let go. Photographed during her first conversation with family. ABC's Matt Gutman speaking with her sister.
Did you guys let out a cheer?
Yeah, we've been holding it in for so long, so everybody was just able to let go just a little bit. The kids especially, they're really tired. We're just very happy.
As part of the agreement, more than 200 Palestinian prisoners have now been freed, including 21-year-old Dania Hanache. This all comes as Hamas claims responsibility for an attack in Jerusalem Thursday. 3 people shot and killed, 6 others wounded during the morning rush hour. Hamas says it was in response to what they called brutal massacres in Gaza and the killing of 2 young Palestinian boys in the West Bank. Israeli Defense Forces called it a counter-terror raid.
The humanitarian crisis in Gaza is growing. More than 1.8 million Gazans have been displaced, and that's about 80% of the population. Since the truce, more than 250 aid trucks have moved in with supplies, but the UN says that is still not enough. Now to Capitol Hill, where New York Congressman George Santos is facing an expulsion vote. It comes after a report from the House Ethics Committee detailing what investigators said was his use of campaign funds for his own personal enrichment, including Botox treatments, vacation, designer clothing, rent, and even the website OnlyFans, known for its adult content. House Speaker Mike Johnson says the expulsion vote will likely take place on Friday, and Representative Santos doubling down today, refusing to resign.
If I leave, they win. If I leave, the bullies take place. This is bullying.
If Santos is voted out, it will be only the 6th time in history that a congressman was forcibly removed by their colleagues. Tonight, under new rules imposed by the EPA, most U.S. cities could have to replace their lead water pipes within 10 years. And the proposal, called the Lead and Copper Rule Improvements, would for the first time require utilities to replace lead pipes even if their lead levels aren't too high. And most cities have not been forced to replace their lead pipes, and many don't know where they are. The push to reduce lead in tap water is part of a broader federal effort to combat lead exposure, and the public will have a chance to comment on the proposal, and the agency expects to publish a final version of the rule in fall of 2024. Rumors have swirled online after reports emerged about a potential secret biolab in California with ties to China. Our national reporter Casey Decker verifies what you need to know about this alleged lab.
Reports of a suspicious warehouse outside of Fresno, California have led to speculation that China could be manufacturing bioweapons there. Verify viewer Craig asked us to look into those reports. So let's verify. Was a secret biolab discovered in California? Our sources are the Department of Justice, federal court records, state court records, the CDC, and the U.S. House Committee on the Chinese Communist Party. The answer is yes, a secret biolab was discovered in California. But its ties to China are unclear, and officials say there's no evidence bioweapons were being made there. Here's what we know. Court documents show that a year ago, a local code enforcement officer noticed violations at a warehouse previously believed to be vacant. She searched the building and found evidence of an unlicensed biolab. Freezers, thousands of vials of fluids, mysterious bags of medical material, and hundreds of lab mice in squalid conditions. The discovery prompted investigations on the local, state, and federal levels. Investigators discovered some of these freezers, vials, and bags were labeled with the names of deadly pathogens like HIV and Ebola, though it has not been confirmed whether the contents were in fact such pathogens. Eventually, local officials shut down the lab, euthanized the mice, and destroyed the potential pathogens. Investigators say the man in charge of the lab was a Chinese citizen who used several aliases. Federal prosecutors say the lab was making and selling unauthorized test kits for COVID-19. They charged the owner with mislabeling medical supplies and lying to agents. But the charging documents don't accuse him of being an agent of the Chinese government, and they specifically state there was no evidence he was manufacturing bioweapons. The incident raised alarm bells in Congress, and the House Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party conducted an investigation. It released additional findings, including that the lab's owner previously worked for companies partially owned by the Chinese government. And it criticized the CDC for not testing the potential pathogens to see what they were. In a statement to verify, the CDC told us that it did everything within its authority to assist the investigation. With your Verify, I'm Casey Decker.
All right, if you have a Google account, make sure you listen to this, because tomorrow the company will delete accounts that have not been used or signed into for at least 2 years. So that includes Gmail, Google Photos, Docs, or Drive. Google says the move is part of an effort to protect users from security threats. To make sure that your account does not get deleted, again, make sure it does not get deleted. All you have to do is just sign in and do something, anything. You can send an email, watch a YouTube video, download an app on Google Store, or even just do a Google search. They say the first accounts to be deleted will be those that were created and never used again. Users who are affected should have received multiple notifications to the account, email, and the recovery email address. So make sure you take care of that. All right, next, meet the group helping young Native women embrace their identity. All month long, ABC 10 has been celebrating Native American Heritage Month, and across the greater Sacramento area, organizations are keeping Native cultures and traditions alive. Native Sister Circle is a youth organization that's helping young Native women embrace their identity, build community, and become future leaders. Race and culture reporter Katie Kim shows us how.
I once was a young girl who kind of lost her way. And I feel like we all get at that age where we are in that place. My name is Angelina Hinosa. My tribe is Pinellas Nation. And I've been with Native Sister Circle since 2018. A lot of the girls here are like sisters to me. Native Sister Circle helped my mental health a lot through the bonds that we created. One thing we talk about is culture is prevention. And you're gonna start doing the same thing, but now you're going. Today we did a lot of basket making. Making that basket and learning the importance of why we weave it this way and why your good energy needs to be. That's therapy for people. I know what it feels like to be in the deepest, darkest hole you could be in. And when I see other girls going through that, I wanna help. And so a lot of my inspiration not only comes from looking up to my mom, but of course also from what I've been through personally.
What makes basket weaving so?
Having a teenage daughter, I went through the struggle of wanting a safe space for her, somewhere where she can practice her culture and thrive within a group setting. That's when I found that there was a need for something specifically for young girls that was empowering, culturally empowering, and foundational to identity. So Native Sister Circle is a small grassroots organization, but that doesn't mean that we don't make a difference on bigger levels. Our foundation is our talking circles, and that's where a lot of our leadership takes place. It's a safe space, a confidential space, so we can build trust. We also host conferences and where we open our workshops, our programming to communities. We also do advocacy. Our youth, they get to speak on a lot of things that they're passionate about. Our youth are leading the way now, and they're offering mentorship to the younger girls and the new girls that are coming into the group.
I'm the youngest of the group. My immediate connection with Native Sister Circle was really like how funny they were. I feel like it kind of clicked because first of all, we're all young, and second of all, we're all Native. So when you like meet a group and they're all the same age, that's one thing, but they're not gonna have that same issue about being Native American as the same as you.
Being Native American, we have so many young-minded people that are brilliant. We're smart, we're resilient. A lot of us have a lot of good gifts that, could be to use. I'm proud to advocate towards that.
All right, and before we go, I do want to mention that To The Point will be back on Tuesday because of football. So that's why you will not see us on air tomorrow, but make sure you tune into ABC 10. Have a great night. I'll see you later. Hey, it's Alex. Just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. I really love hearing from everyone, and I hope that you'll stay in touch. Reach out to me on Facebook at AlexBellTV, or you can email me at tothepoint@abc10.com, or you can even send me a text message at 916-321-3310.